Hi, everyone. Well, I'm a little under the weather today, but fortunately I can do this without having to leave the house, so that makes it easy. I look all dressed up, but what you can't see is I'm wearing my pajamas and my slippers. And I tried earlier to see if I could raise my leg high enough to show you, but my legs are too short. Not as short as my sister Marie's, but they're substantially short. Anyway, my guest is a prairie girl from Alberta. What we're going to talk about is her music, her style of music, and her albums, and anything else that we have time for or that she wishes to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Ruth. Now, I don't know, I didn't practice your middle name, Purves or Purves?
It's Purves, and it's my whole last name. It's just been my maiden name, and in my family for a number of generations anyway. There's a number of different stories about where it actually came from, but it's always been there.
Okay, so it's Ruth Purves Smith, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, tell me about your style of music, first of all.
Well, I kind of joke around because I call it post-apocalyptic Western, which, currently at this time might be a little bit of a faux pas, but we're not quite post yet, are we? Maybe not quite even there yet, please. The point is that if you know me as a person, I'm actually quite, friendly, and I have lots of little pets, and, everybody calls me Ruthie, and, oh, Ruthie's just, but I write all the songs about, killing guys and dying and tragedies, as I come across them. That's the funny thing about being a songwriter. Sometimes you are affected by the sad stuff. So that's what I write about. I'm really juxtapositioned between how I feel and how I am and how I write.
Right. Okay. Now, I know one of your albums, one of them is Out in the Storm.
That's right.
And the other one is
my first.
So that was your first one?
Yeah.
Okay. And the other one is Faster Than the Speed of Dark.
Correct.
All right. So tell me about some of the songs on your first album.
Well, being my debut album, it was a compilation of songs that I had written over the years coming to the table with my first album. And really just, I love the metaphor, right? So there's a song called Godzilla, which is, truly a metaphor about, pick a monster, any monster. We all have some kind of monster in our lives, right? Yes. Welcome to Earth. But there's a song on there about a homeless family that landed here in this little town where I live, which is a hamlet of 30 houses, maybe 100 souls live here.
Wow.
Out on the prairie. If I looking out my window right now, I can see across the train tracks, which are about 100 feet outside my front property line, and then across a vast prairie field and a big prairie sky. So that's sort of always been underlying with my work, stuff that's around me, and stories that I encounter in real life, right? So, or just finding a metaphor about the greater human experience, right? Like Godzilla, for instance, is truly that. But, it's the hard things that affect me and make me just sit down and zoom into writing a song. I've never really done very well at writing happy songs. In fact, by the time I found out you could write a happy song, it was too late.
Okay. Is your second album, Faster Than the Speed of Dark, is there a lot of difference between that one and the first one, or is it?
Well, it's the same band, same producer, same kind of approach. It's got some interesting production. Both the albums have really beautiful production. All the songs break down to just me and the acoustic guitar where they were generated from, but they have some really interesting production on the albums. Both albums are on Amazon, apparently, Amazon Music, but I have no clue, to be honest with you. This is where I fall down in the world of the interwebs now, is I have no clue who's actually collecting the money for the first album or administrating it or anything. I put it out in 2010, right, and I stopped paying $40 a year to Reverb Nation in order to have it online, because they make you pay to have it up there. It cost me more than I was getting back. So I just discontinued the service. But meantime, I just was at a songwriting course this past weekend, or not this past, but a week and a half ago. And someone said, "Oh, great, I just bought your music off of Amazon." I'm like, "Oh, cool. There's only the second album on there." Like, "No, I got your first one." I'm like, "Really? I wonder who gets that money or where it goes or how that all works." Yeah. Welcome to the 21st century. I'm sure I'm not alone in this, but It boggles my mind. I definitely struggle to keep up with all of that.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's difficult. I know. I do parts of this, what I'm doing, and the other parts that are editing and all that is like, forget it.
Right?
Yeah. No, one of the things that I saw in your bio, which was online, is you said you let's see, grew up traveling the dusty highways between two cultures of urban life in the city and the artist dream of, but it said working at 100-year-old rural woolen mill.
Yep.
Wow.
Back in the 70s when everybody was doing funky things like, having weaving retreats and dyeing wool with lichen from trees and, dancing about in the forest as people were in those days. My folks were doing all of that. And then they kind of got really involved in the fiber world here in Alberta. And my dad was a university or a college professor. And one day, one of his students said, "Oh, I'm a sheep farmer and we just throw the wool away. I'll just bring you my wool." And Dad said, "Great, that'd be awesome." Because we were just washing it in the bathtub of the house where we were living in Calgary at the time. He was teaching at Mount Royal now University anyway. And so his student showed up with, a 200-pound sack of wool that Dad couldn't possibly wash in the bathtub. But he remembered from his childhood growing up near Lethbridge that there was a woolen mill in McGrath, Alberta. So he went down to McGrath with the wool, and the miller there said, "Well, I'll do your wool, but you'll be my last customer." And then one thing led to another, and Dad bought the woolen mill, and we were commuting to McGrath every weekend to learn how to run it. And then eventually it got dismantled, sat in boxes for numbers of years, only running the carding and the quilting machines in 2 different locations. This was all as I was growing up. And then by the time I was 12, they found the land and started to set up the woolen mill. And then on we went. Maybe 10, actually. 77, I think, was the year that there was the buildings made.
Right.
And they moved one of the train stations they were all being sold for $1 by the CPR at the time out of the little towns. So they bought the train station for $1, cost them 10 grand to move it to the land. And it was the house. And it was unfinished for many years. For the first 25 years of the mill, Dad's wages paid the wages at the mill, right? So he commuted every day, 120 miles a day. Oh. It was pretty brutal, but what a heck of a thing. And now my sister, she's second generation running the mill. And it's, of course, one of the last bastions of, one of 2 spinning mules left in all of America. The spinning mule being one of the very earliest machines ever invented, circa Industrial Revolution. Anyway, dear, I go on. So yeah, that was the woolen mill. And then my mom was an English teacher in the city. And as kids, we commuted back and forth. We'd go to school in the city and then go out to the mill on the weekends. And I'd often work at the mill, cleaning it or working in the washing area, stuff like that.
Right. Now, I'm just wondering, like, as a performer, have you traveled around the country or into the US or anything?
I have. I've been all over, 25 states, the Navajo Nation, 4 Canadian provinces, 5 technically. I've performed in Ontario, but I flew there. I was traveling for a while, just on land, really just doing showcases. I went down to Folk Alliance and then traveled across America with some friends, just, playing at friends' gigs and meeting people and staying here and there and just on a big old adventure holiday thing, right? So I hope one day I don't think this year because I'll be releasing my new album this year, but I think for 2023, I'm hoping to garner a visa and do a tour in the States. We'll see. And I've also been to Europe, went and played the big Belladrum Music Festival and traveled all through Scotland and sort of Northern England, got as far as sort of Sheppey Island and then went across to France and Belgium and the Netherlands. It was really, really fun. So music is a universal language. That's for sure. That's what I've discovered. Yeah.
What I like about musicians, I've interviewed quite a few now, and so many of them tell me the same thing, that musicians are so giving to each other.
Yes.
Welcoming. And I just love hearing that.
Well, we have to support each other for sure. It's an understanding of the creative endeavor, right? That's, yes. As we know, as creative people, there's a lot of effort that goes on behind the scenes, and a lot of sacrifice, and a lot of learning, and a lot of growing, and a lot of just connection with the beyond to even have something, you know, worthy of presenting or touring or taking around or recording or you know, doing a show about or anything. It's and of course it leaves one quite vulnerable, right? So it's really important to have that support, and we understand the heart of it, right? It's not that we want to be creators, it's that we have to.
Right. Yes, it's just part of the heart, right?
Right. It's our gig. There's plumbers, there's lawyers, there's creators.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now your music, what I wanted to talk about your music. It says it's from country through to Celtic infused with rock, folk rock. Yeah. So
It kind of covers the spectrum a little bit. As a writer, I have never quite limited myself. As an instrumentalist, I'm relatively limited. So I get what I get because I can, you know, create what I can with the knowledge that I have. And, you know, as we evolve, we evolve. But not using formal musicianship per se to create. So thereby not having any rules, and thereby all kind of stuff get in there. Growing up in the 20th century, the latter part thereof, I of course had access to so much different music.
right.
And it definitely influenced my, you know, my musical journey.
Right. No, you're a solo performer, is that correct?
Well, I have played with as large as an 8-piece band and toured the whole darn show. But at this point, the way the business has gone since the digital era, to afford to have a band, I often play with just one guitar player who's left out of my massive entourage. His name is Dave Holloway, and he actually was the guitar player that broke Jan Arden before Russ Broom or anything, way back in the old Neil McGonigal days.
Right.
Anyway, I think as far as they got with that band was that they opened for the Doobie Brothers at the Saddle Dome.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, so Dave's a wonderful guitar player, so I play with him still, but that's it. Aside from that, you know, I have some other friends that, you know, if they're around and they're available. I have a lovely musical partner who plays in Magnolia Buckskin. That's they call themselves Mag Buck nowadays. Kathy Cook, or you know, various people like that. Jared Albright on the mandolin and fiddle sometimes.
Right.
I've played with just like everybody. I've been playing music professionally for 37 years.
I was
plus.
going to ask you when you started. Yeah, when you first.
I started when I was pretty much a kid, back in the short skirts, big hair, only play country or thou shalt be fired in Alberta gigs. And we would tour from town to town in the van with the 5-piece band. At a certain point, I had 2 kittens with me. From, you know, sort of in those days, you would play 6 nights a week. And on the, you know, usually at 2 a.m. on the Saturday night, you'd pack up all your gear and get as far as you could, which was hopefully the next town if you were routed properly. Right. And then you'd get, you know, unload your gear and crash all day. So you'd have a day. Occasionally there'd be a, you know, Sunday matinee that you had to play at the next gig or something like that. And so you couldn't, right. You know, you couldn't even get the time off. But in those days we played I'm sure you remember the days, you know, 5 sets a night, 9 to 2, 45 minute sets each.
Right.
Pretty much all top 40, whatever your genre was.
Right, for sure.
That was the day. We slipped in originals way back then too, though, you know, always trying to get that creative part in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's really great. Now you mentioned a 3rd album, and when are you planning its release?
Well, you know, hon, I've been making all kind of big plans to release it officially, fully in the spring, but things have kind of gotten in the way recently. Okay. I've had some a little bit of health troubles that are slowing me down. And so one must surrender to what the universe wants, not what everybody and or oneself. So not having announced it yet. So I'm thinking in the fall. It's just about finished being recorded. I've already mastered and produced my first single. So that's going to come out kind of first thing in the new year. I just don't want to get caught up in the Christmas kerfuffle.
Yes.
And then the new album will be out as one does now. We release a single and then we blah, 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 and drive everybody to Spotify and Amazon and whoever the guys are that are getting paid for my records. And then we release another single. You pretty much have to release a single with a video
Okay.
At least 1, 2, 3 of them, I would say, in my estimation, judging from how the waters are these days, in order to get enough exposure and attention to even be able to have any significance in terms of releasing a new release right now.
Oh, okay.
And then maybe print 500 CDs. And the difficulty is driving enough people to your digital sites, because it's such an ocean of talent and an ocean of creation out there that and people just have so many digital choices, and people, you know, they get inundated and they get tired and they just pre-save. What the heck are you even talking about now? They've, you know, I've recently had to evolve to online streaming in order to continue to create and produce live music, and trying to get people to come to the platform that I found to be the most effective for what I do has been a challenge, because they're done. They're done with passwords. They're done with security. They're done with finding a new way on the computer thing. And, you know, not necessarily the younger kids, they're a little bit better about it, but even them, you know, it's been such an adventure lately to find a way to share your music without feeling lost in the whole picture. So I'm so grateful to you for reaching out to me for this interview, because it's just fun to interact with other people and tell them about what, you know, is going on. So my first single is a song called Captain Kirk, and there will be a video with it. And the premise is essentially, you know, thought we were going to get Captain Kirk, but instead we got Darth Vader. Once again, the metaphor, you know. But if you grew up in the 70s like I did, or were around the television at all at that time, you know, the early 70s, the Captain Kirk, James Shatner, was an absolute archetype of what so many kids that I know that grew up at that time, no longer kids, but the inner child still believes in the captain. That was the archetype of the guy that was the hero. You know, he was the guy that was gonna, and that was the future that we thought we were seeing, because everybody had evolved so far with, there's all these different people of different colors and different languages and different planets and different understandings. And the captain would always bring everyone together in unity and harmony, unless he had to absolutely kill them because they were so bad. You know what I mean? Like, and he got all the girls too. Yeah. I mean, I understand, you know, there's a lot of stuff about the 70s Captain Kirk that was a little bit, you know, the girls in their skirts and so on. That was the culture at the time, and on we go. So, but the archetypes that and then along comes Star Wars, same thing. So I've gone and mixed my Star Trek and Star Wars metaphors, and one can go ahead and dig through that, because the video has all kinds of sort of subliminal metaphorical imagery in it.
Right. That's great.
So,
yeah.
Really fun.
I'm still waiting for them to develop a teleporter.
Oh, girlfriend, wouldn't that be the most awesome?
Yes.
That would cure the whole virus problem in the world, because you just take the virus out of it as you reanimate the beings wherever they go. Everybody needs to be teleported to the moon and back, and we're all cured.
Right? Exactly.
Or we could maybe just teleport the virus into outer space. You see, without the captain. Right?
Yeah.
You know.
One final question, because I think we're running a little long time. Now, as a person who's been into a few other places other than Alberta, is that where you always go back to? Is that where you always want to go back to?
My family's here. This is my roots. You know, I own a home here. If I had my druthers, honey, I'd be in Texas. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to run away to Texas. I am a cowgirl at heart. I am a cowgirl in true real life too. Actually, I used to work in the big outfits years ago, but so for some reason, my heart is in Texas, and that's where I would go if I was truly able to. But you know, if it weren't for the times that we were in and we were free to roam the earth as humans should be, I'd probably go everywhere and meet all of you.
Oh, I'm with you on that one. Totally.
Right, girl? You know it.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that's where I get the drawl from, is it secretly my heart is in Texas. I can't really leave there all the way. It still comes out sometimes. People are like, honey, you're from Alberta. How come you have such a Southern drawl? I'm like, I just can't really leave Texas in my mind. I even keep my clocks on Texas time. I
Very
know it's a weird thing, but
Very
guys,
good.
it's just a
Oh
thing.
my gosh. Oh, this has been a delight. I really enjoyed it. And
Oh, bless you, Nancy. Thank you again for the invite
oh,
and for your time.
you're welcome. And to the audience, like if you find her music on Amazon, pay her. See if she
Yeah, I don't even have a thing on my website for where you can buy my music. I'm just about to rebrand and fix all the website up. So I'll have all that stuff. I'm going to get that sorted out.
Right.
I've had some health things that have just prevented me from doing it all. You know, you can't tour and write the songs and build the albums and raise the money and take care of the cats and, you know, learn how to run the interwebs and you do all the, it's just, I got overwhelmed at a certain point, but the path is well underway
Right.
for all of this coming back together. So keep your eyes out for Ruthie's brand new album
All right.
and website and all of it.
Yeah, you heard what Ruthie said, so pay attention. And by the way, thank you everybody for watching. And I hope you continue to watch and subscribe to all those wonderful things and share so that Ruth's message get out there so everybody knows that her songs are out there. She's going to be coming on hopefully again in the future and talking about more. And I hope everybody stays safe and peace out, everyone.